Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to go to my review of King of the Ring 2000. Starting off the evening, we go to our first match of the night. It's a King of the Ring quarterfinal matchup. It is Rikishi versus Chris Benoit. Number one, I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Rikishi and Benoit, with Benoit hitting a German suplex on Rikishi in the middle of the ring. Benoit then applies a crossface. Rikishi then breaks the hold. Benoit then gets aggravated, grabs a chair, ends up hitting Rikishi with a chair. Referee ends up seeing this, and your winner of the match and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament by disqualification is Rikishi. Hats off to Rikishi for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It's another King of the Ring quarterfinal matchup. It is Eddie Guerrero versus Val Venis. I thought this was an okay matchup. Back and forth matchup between Eddie and Val, with Eddie keeping the pace of the match. Eddie hits a hurricanrana on Val in the middle of the ring, but Val ultimately hits a fisherman suplex on Eddie, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament is Val Venis. Hats off to Val Venis for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's another King of the Ring quarterfinal matchup. It is Crash Holly versus Bull Buchanan. I thought this was an okay matchup. Back and forth matchup between Crash Holly and Buchanan, with Buchanan hitting a devastating press slam on Crash Holly. But Holly gets up, hits a roll-up on Bull Buchanan, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament is Crash Holly. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It's another King of the Ring quarterfinal matchup. It is Kurt Angle versus Chris Jericho. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Angle and Jericho, with Angle keeping the pace of the match. Jericho hits a drop kick off the top rope on Angle. Jericho then hits a lion salt on Angle for a near fall. Jericho then hits a springboard drop kick, sending Angle to the outside. Kurt then hits a German suplex on Jericho for a near fall. Jericho then hits a hurricanrana off the top rope. Jericho then hits a spinning kick on Angle for a near fall. Jericho then goes for a wall to Jericho, but Stephanie McMahon is here. She makes her way down to the ring. Kurt then goes to hit Jericho, but missed and end up hitting the referee. Stephanie then goes to hit Jericho, missed, hit Kurt with the championship. Kurt then gets up, hits an angle slam on Jericho, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament is Kurt Angle. Hats off to Kurt Angle for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we're going to our next match of the night. It's a tag team championship elimination matchup. It is Edge and Christian versus Test and Albert versus the Hardy Boys versus Too Cool. I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup with all teams involved. Matt hits a twist of fate on Test. Jeff then hits a swanton on Test. Pins for the 3. Test and Albert are now eliminated from this match. Lita then hits a hurricanrana on Edge. Matt hits a twist of fate on Christian. Christian gets up, hits an unprettier on Matt, pins him for the 3. The Hardy Boys are now eliminated from this match. Scotty then hits a worm on Edge. Grandmaster then hits a leg drop off the top rope on Edge. Christian then hits Grandmaster with a championship. Referee doesn't see it. Edge then goes for the cover. Pins for the 3. And your winners of the match, and at that time, new WWE Tag Team Champions are Edge and Christian. Hats off to Edge and Christian for getting a win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's a King of the Ring semifinal matchup. It is Rikishi versus Val Venis. I thought this was an okay matchup. Back and forth matchup between Rikishi and Val, with Rikishi keeping the pace of the match. Rikishi hits a devastating leg drop on Val. Rikishi and Val both exchange in the middle of the ring, but Rikishi ultimately hits a devastating belly-to-belly suplex on Val, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament is Rikishi. Hats off to Rikishi for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It's another King of the Ring semifinal matchup. It is Kurt Angle versus Crash Holly. I thought this was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between Angle and Holly, with Crash hitting a devastating power slam on Angle. Kurt was keeping the pace of the match though, and Kurt ultimately hits his signature Angle slam on Crash Holly, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Kurt Angle. Hats off to Kurt Angle for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's for the Hardcore Championship. It is Pat Patterson versus Gerald Briscoe. I thought this match was downright awful. Pat Patterson was keeping the pace of the match. Crash Holly makes his way down to the ring. Crash ends up attacking Patterson and Briscoe. Crash ends up hitting Pat with a trash can, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and new hardcore champion is Crash Holly. Hats off to Crash Holly for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's a 3-on-2 tag team matchup. It is Road Dogg, X-Pac, and Tori versus the Dudley Boys. I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with the Dudley Boys keeping the pace of the match. X-Pac hits a spin kick on the Dudleys. Bubba Ray then hits a Bubba Bomb on Road Dogg. Road Dogg gets up, throws Dudleys into the dumpster. Bubba then hits a power bomb on Road Dogg through the table. Looked absolutely brutal. Devon then hits a superplex on X-Pac through a table. Road Dogg and X-Pac then hit the Dudley Boys with a chair shot. Road Dogg and X-Pac then throw Dudleys into the dumpster. And your winners of the match are Road Dogg, X-Pac, and Tori. Hats off to Road Dogg, X-Pac, and Tori for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's the King of the Ring Finals. It is Rikishi versus Kurt Angle. I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Rikishi and Angle, with Rikishi keeping the pace of the match. Angle then hits an Angle Slam on Rikishi for a near fall. Angle then hits a belly-to-belly off the top rope on Rikishi, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match, and at that time, new King of the Ring, is Kurt Angle. Hats off to Kurt Angle for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of King of the Ring 2000. It is Triple H, Vince McMahon, and Shane McMahon versus Kane, Undertaker, and The Rock. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Kane, Undertaker, and The Rock keeping the pace of the match. Kane hits a press slam on Shane McMahon. Taker then hits a choke slam on Shane for a near fall. Triple H then hits a pedigree on Rock for a near fall as well. Rock and Triple H then both exchange. Kane hits a choke slam on The Rock. Kane then hits a tombstone on Triple H. Undertaker then hits Kane with a chair shot. Looks like the team's falling apart. Undertaker then hits a choke slam off the top rope on Shane McMahon through the announce table to the outside. But then The Rock ultimately hits a rock bottom on Vince. Pins for the 3. And your winner of the match, and at that time, new WWE Champion, is The Rock. A couple of things I'm going to say about King of the Ring 2000, man. Number one, this was a solid event. I'm not going to sit here and say it was the best King of the Ring, but it definitely wasn't the worst. Some of the King of the Ring matches were actually pretty decent, in my honest opinion. There was a lot of quarterfinal matchups on this King of the Ring. A couple matches I could have done without, too. Crash Holly versus Bull Buchanan. I definitely could have done without that match. And Rikishi versus Chris Benoit was a good match. The only negative thing I could say about that was that we didn't get a concrete finish in that match. Rikishi ended up winning by disqualification. I was just kind of hoping that we got a concrete winner in that matchup. But all in all, I mean, King of the Ring 2000, it was a decent event. Like I said, I'm not going to say it was the worst King of the Ring, but it damn sure was not the best. But if I had to give King of the Ring 2000 a solid rating from 1 out of 10, I'm probably going to give it maybe a 4, maybe 4.5 at best. But this is my review of King of the Ring 2000. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.